Holy cow, folks, a man armed went into a polling place in a suburb of Milwaukee and demanded that they stop the voting. I wonder what political party they're affiliated with.
Why can't we have all the results of the midterms on election night? Why do we have to wait for some races to be decided, to be called days later? That's the new mantra from Conservatives that you may have heard recently. The idea being that if you don't have all the results in on election night, all the winners and losers confirmed straight away, and if the results of mail-in ballots, absentee ballots, come in later and help Democratic candidates and not Republican ones, then that's evidence of deliberate electoral fraud, of political corruption. Now, that's total nonsense, of course. But it goes back to Donald Trump on election night 2020 saying this.
We don't want them to find any ballots at 4 o'clock in the morning and add them to the list.
Today you have Trump loyalists like former acting director of intelligence Richard Grenell, often described as a Twitter troll, going viral with ridiculous tweets like this one. Quote, any state which doesn't count all the votes and announce the winner Tuesday night is incompetent. But here's the thing. Not only is a state which doesn't do that not necessarily incompetent, but it might very well be a state with a Republican-controlled legislature. See, mail-in ballots have to be processed, envelopes opened, signatures verified, before they're then tabulated, tallied, counted. And one of the main reasons why it takes so long to do all that with mail-in ballots in the key swing states is because Republican lawmakers in those states have made sure that's the case. In Pennsylvania, for example, a state law passed unanimously by a Republican-led General Assembly in March 2020 prevents election officials from even opening mail-in ballots until 7 a.m. on election day. The same thing in swing state Wisconsin. In fact, in March, a bipartisan bill that would have allowed local election clerks there to begin counting absentee ballots a day earlier died in the Republican-controlled state Senate. And in swing state Michigan, reports AP, officials can start processing just 2 days before. This means most results being reported from these states on election night will be from in-person voting on election day or during the early voting period. Look, it doesn't have to be this way. 38 states, including red states, Texas and Florida, allow election officials to process mail ballots prior to the election. 10 states, 1 in 5, allow both processing and counting of mail-in ballots to begin before election day. But not in Michigan, Wisconsin or Pennsylvania. So the truth is, if Republicans in those swing states really wanted a result on the night, they'd be pushing for that to happen. But they're not. They're blocking it while moaning about election integrity. They complain that it takes too long to get the result and suggest it's evidence of either incompetence or election fraud. But at the same time, they guarantee that any measures to speed up the processing and counting of those mail ballots are just killed in the state legislatures that they control. That's not just dishonest on their part, it's straight up gaslighting. Remember that on Tuesday night.
Good evening, good evening, good evening. Thank you for joining me here. We'll talk about it Tuesday on Conversations with Taz, and we have My aren't we comfy?
I have to be. My back is killing me.
We have T Mac with us. There's a lot to get into regarding tonight in elections, but before we dig into that, once again, I do have some updates for you all regarding the racist situation down at the University of Kentucky. Therefore, if you missed the previous updates, go back to last night's show and the show before that. All you have to do is watch the first 15 minutes and you will be brought up to speed. But here we go.
Recently, police arrested Sophia Rosing, who was a student at the University of Kentucky. Rosing was caught on a now widely circulated video physically attacking two black students, one of which was on duty as a desk clerk. Video of the incident shows Rosing saying the N-word repeatedly as she strikes at the student desk clerk. The video shows the two black students trying to restrain Rosing, who appears to be visibly intoxicated and is struggling to stay standing. My thoughts? The two black students didn't want Rosing to be harmed while under the influence. She now faces charges of public intoxication, assault, and disorderly conduct, and is being held on a $10,000 bond. Let's get something clear. Her actions were a hate crime. Calling a black person the N-word is anti-blackness. And I believe we can learn a lesson from the latest Kyrie Irving situation on how to best move forward. Do I believe this woman should be expelled from that school? Yes. On top of this, I believe she should be required to apologize to those she harmed with her words, give a financial donation to anti-hate causes and those she harmed, undergo sensitivity training, anti-blackness training, meet with black leaders, and meet with the president of that school to understand why she is being punished. If you know, you know.
Hey y'all, so I'm back with more information about what's going on at UK. Okay, so this is one of her friends' pictures together with her, and as you can see by the caption, they have been doing this for quite a long time, and her friend is making a mockery out of this situation. Also, this is another picture of the same friend, but this time she posted a black female saying that she gave her the pass to use the N-word. And there's her Instagram. Y'all do as y'all please with that, but yeah. So as you can see, Sophia has had a black roommate this whole semester, and her roommate decided to put out a statement saying how she feels about the situation and how she is going to address the living situation after this whole incident has happened. And if you can see here, this is a statement that Sophia herself posted on her Instagram saying how she is not a racist and how she was under the influence, but that gives no one a right to call somebody out of their name the way that she did. And as you can see here, Twitter has put out a statement on their Twitter saying how they are going to take this into proper matter and how it is a very serious matter. Also, some of our organizations on campus have put out statements also regarding their feelings towards the situation and how we should address it. Also, Sophia was in court today and she was given a $10,000 bond. She is not allowed to enter Boyd Hall anymore or consume alcohol or even be in contact with the young lady that she assaulted. Also, something that I forgot to mention in the previous video is that someone has found her and her parents' address, where her parents work at, and their phone numbers. But I'm not going to put that in this video just for their safety. But yeah, she should have seen this coming when she decided to do what she did. Also, Sophia was affiliated with Dillard's and was an ambassador for them. But since then, Dillard's has put out a statement saying how they have terminated her from all of her contracts and will no longer be doing business with her. Another piece of information about her and her affiliation with Dillard's is that people were going on Dillard's Instagram, and under her post that they had posted of her, they were saying what she had did, and so now their Instagram page is now private. So I couldn't get the statement for y'all, but yeah, just know that if you try to go on their page, you can't, because you have to be requested to go on their page. And if you can see here, UK has posted on their Twitter saying how the video is deeply offensive and how they will be taking it very serious.
As far as the information, you all know, if you saw the past 2 nights, that information is already posted here. Like I said, just go back. I always put it at the beginning of the show. Number 1. Number 2, remember I told you all that this was long-standing. Let's not forget her incident in Colorado that got her kicked out of the sorority, the incident last year that Barstool U talked to her about in August of last year. And now you see that her friend, she's not apologetic. They're never apologetic. Her friend is making light of it along with her on Instagram while she's claiming that, she's so sad and she's so sorry. And instead of her getting an official expulsion that she would have to explain to other universities, as if this has not been picked up by everyone, including the New York Post and the Washington Post. Why she got expelled, she quietly just withdrew from the University of Kentucky. But that's okay, because I'm pretty sure she's going to be heading back to Fort Mitchell, Kentucky. And the amount of Black people that have moved in since she's been in college, that will be just so interesting. But if you think the white privilege stops there, no. Because white women seem to like to go after homeless people as well. Let's roll it.
Time for some tea. This woman, Katie Quackenbush, yes, that's her real name, tried to unalive a homeless man for telling her to move her car. Literally, she pow-powed him at 3 a.m. when he was sleeping on the sidewalk because he asked her to turn down her music and get the fumes from her Porsche out of his face. She then said, "Do you want to be unalive tonight?" and then did it. Then right after, she went to Taco Bell. Look at her, she doesn't even care. And no, she didn't go to jail. She got 11 months and 29 days of unsupervised probation. That's basically just living life. What a contrast from yesterday's story. 15-year-old Pieper Lewis unalived her human trafficker to get away from him, and now she's facing 20 years. That's weird. I wonder why they treated these cases so differently. Now she's free, living her life on the streets with you and me. Saves and shares really help in this world, so say this and share this and get this woman's face out there. This story wasn't even in the headlines. This was buried. She needs her face on billboards. It's liberty and justice for all, not just if you're rich. And they said she was wealthy. Although I don't agree with them bringing Porsche into this. What did Porsche ever do to you? She now currently lives in Texas. So be on the lookout, Texans. Save, share, get her face out there. Ugh, she doesn't even care.
And just to add to this, because I know if you haven't heard already, Pieper Lewis is on the run. She did escape. If you see Pieper Lewis, you do not see Pieper Lewis. If you know, you know. And we have an update on the Danny Masterson trial. And then after this, we're going to run the ad and we're going to get into all the good nuggets that you need to know about tonight.
Wow, this trial just keeps getting more and more interesting. Danny Masterson from That 70s Show has found himself in another predicament as his former friend and interior designer took the stand on Friday to testify against him. She was also a dabbler in this. And as always, this topic gets banned on here. Please hit the like and save button to keep this algorithm flowing. Now, you may know Mariah as she was married to Giovanni Ribisi, the actor. One of his standout roles has been Phoebe's brother on Friends. Anyways, Mariah claims that she was friends with NT and CB. Now, CB is Jane Doe number 1, which is the longtime girlfriend of Danny Masterson. NT is the friend of Danny Masterson, who is considered Jane Doe number 2. Now, Mariah and NT, Jane Doe number 2, had a fallout back in 2014. She had NT over for dinner, and the topic of Danny Masterson got brought up. NT stood up from her chair and said she couldn't take it, she couldn't hear about this, and she basically made a little bit of a scene. Mariah was offended as it happened in front of her children. She asked what was going on. NT told Mariah about the essay, and Mariah wasn't having any of it at the time, as she had known Danny since 1995 and felt that he was a family friend and a close friend. She just couldn't believe what she was hearing. But that wasn't until CB reached out to her. Like I said, CB was the longtime girlfriend of Danny Masterson, also considered Jane Doe number 1. Just 2 years after this dinner in 2016, CB reached out to Mariah and asked her if she knew of any women who were essayed by Danny Masterson. Mariah explained to her that yes, she did know of NT, but was no longer in touch with her. It's important to note that these allegations were brought to light in 2017. That's just 1 year after the Instagram message that took place between CB and Mariah O'Brien. Now, I'm reading reports on this trial as it's not televised, but it was reported that Masterson smiled at O'Brien when she took the stand. It is also being reported that she smiled back at him and his family and mouthed bye at the end of her testimony.
So like I told you all last night when we put up the first update, Everybody is so concerned about the Kevin Spaceys of the world and the Weinsteins, but the one thing that you missed in all of this is that there is a system to protect, not just in Hollywood, but also in politics, because it's a lot of smoke and mirrors. This is why a lot of celebrities tell you that they're so liberal, but they're actually very right-leaning, because it protects everything that they stand for. They'll tell you to look over here, look over there, look everywhere for what goes bump in the night, except for what actually goes bump in the night. Whew. Now let's run this season's ad, and then we'll get into the politics of the night.
Style. Style is the answer to everything. A fresh way to approach a dull or dangerous thing. To do a dangerous thing with style is what I call art.
That the Republicans aren't saying they're going to win. They're just trying to convince you that the Democrats are going to cheat. That they haven't been out here selling their policies or their plans to make the country better, but using their time and energy to demonize and undermine their opponent. It's because they know they can't win, just like they didn't win in 2020. So they're doing a full court press on voter suppression and manipulation, poll skewing, and endless propaganda to make us think they're winning, despite all evidence to the contrary. Fox News has been prepping their audience for a Republican blowout, using polls that almost always skew right because of outdated polling methods like calling landlines, but also majority owned by Republican operatives who are pushing the same narrative. And that narrative is, anything other than a red wave means the election was stolen. But the Democrats are outperforming Republicans in every demographic. Early voting numbers, youth numbers, voter registration. After Roe was reversed, registration in Missouri went up by 627%. Is that a one-off? Nope. Because at the same time, registration in red Kansas went up by over 1,000%. And we saw what happened in their special election. Traditional projections would have the Democrats walking away with this. But these aren't traditional times. So I'm here to tell you what you should expect moving forward. MAGA will show up to vote on Election Day and create what is called the red mirage. A red mirage is what happens when Election Day votes are counted before mail-in votes or early votes, and rural areas, which skew Republican and have a lower population, so take less time to count their ballots, end up posting their results before bigger, bluer cities. This gives the illusion that Republicans are winning. The Republicans have played into this mirage by passing laws in places like Pennsylvania that say you can't count mail-in ballots, which they know skew Democratic, until Election Day, knowing that that means that those votes will be counted last and will allow them to declare victory before all the votes are counted. It plays into their idea of Democratic cheating. Look, we were winning and then suddenly we weren't. It's rigged. No, we just kept counting the votes and you lost your lead. That's not cheating. That's democracy. So far, over 900,000 mail-in ballots have been returned in Pennsylvania, and 70% of them are for registered Democrats. So if you hold back counting those votes, it's going to change what the results look like for a while. While we should have an idea of which direction we're leaning on election night, don't let any pundit tell you that the blue wave is a bust like they did in 2018 or 2020. We have to remember that votes take a long time to count. States with ranked choice voting will be delayed. Some states will end up in runoff elections. Some candidates will refuse to concede. Some votes won't be counted until December. All of this will be used as a tactic for Republicans to claim victory when they haven't won, and then claim fraud when they actually lose. We should expect court challenges, intimidation of poll workers and secretaries of state. There is no doubt that outrage machine will be turned up to an 11 so Republicans can both sow doubt in the results and raise money on people's fury. And finally, I think it would be smart to expect violence and be vigilant to keep yourself safe. I shouldn't have to say that in America, but this is what happens when 1/3 of the country is lied to for 2 straight years and people choose the propaganda they like over the truth that they don't. Republicans have been priming their voters since they lost the last election to not accept any outcome they don't win. So we need to stay calm. And when the Democrats start winning high-profile races and Republicans scream fraud and unleash hell, remember that their goal is to undermine elections so they have a better chance of undermining democracy. We are trying to slow them down in this election, but it's 2024 they really have their eye on, so everything is in service to that. So stay safe, stay vigilant, vote against violence and lies, and prepare for victory. It's going to be a mess for a while, but I think we got this. They wouldn't be freaking out so much if we didn't.
Now, before we get into everything, coming from the AP explainer, voting systems reliable despite conspiracies. And in the background, you'll hear elections news going through, and I'll be scurrying through pretty much every channel, every stream that we can to get up-to-date information. Former President Donald Trump and his allies have whipped up a relentless campaign of attacks against voting equipment since his loss in the 2020 election. After nearly 2 years, no evidence has emerged that voting machines were manipulated to steal the election or that there was any widespread fraud. Conspiracy theories spread online and in forums across the country nevertheless have undermined public confidence in voting machines and election results, while leading some counties to consider ditching the equipment in favor of hand-marked and hand-counted ballots. Elections have been held across this country this year during a busy primary season. While program errors sometimes occur and equipment can malfunction, no major problems have been reported. Voting equipment is tested before and after to identify any problems, while audits done after the election confirm it worked correctly. The Associated Press explains how we got to this point, the efforts to increase security of the vote, and the fallout from false claims surrounding the 2020 presidential election. Also, keep in mind, first of all, there's a lot of information that I put in the comment section before this live began, so scroll through there and check it out. Also, you have to keep in mind the final polls close in Alaska and Hawaii at midnight Eastern Standard Time. Let me repeat that for you. The final polls close at midnight Eastern Standard Time in Alaska and Hawaii. As the polls have closed, because I've been watching this all day, a lot of stations are very, very quick to call these votes and to call these races with less than 20% reported. Do not get hyped. Do not get dismayed. Just like I've stated last night, just like I've stated all the way coming up to this, there are some things, just like the past creator said in the video right after the ad, some votes will not be done being tallied and voted until December. This is normal. This is how it's always been. People just started questioning it because someone who didn't even do their own schoolwork decided to be a sour, incessant child because they lost an election. But you want to know where actual voter fraud has come from? Just like the video that opened up the show, where a gentleman walked into a polling place with a weapon and demanded that voting stopped. Oh, there was voter fraud in 2020. Let's take a look.
You ever seen any voter fraud?
Yeah, me. I did it.
You committed voter fraud? What'd you do?
Voted twice for Trump.
Really?
4 years ago, yes.
Did you get in trouble for that?
Yeah, I'm still on probation for it.
Really?
Yeah. Now, if I voted for Hillary, I would have got a gold medal.
But you voted for Trump twice.
Yes, I did, yes.
Yeah.
So...
I learned the hard way not to do it.
But did you wear a mustache or anything?
No, I was two different places. I went to a different place. A different time. I voted one time, like maybe a couple weeks later, trying to vote at another place, someplace else.
I don't know. I'm having like a big crisis because I honestly thought it was like libs that were doing it.
Yeah.
And if you think that's bad, guess what? And you see how she said, if I would have done it for Hillary, it would have been okay. No, dear heart, it's illegal no matter who you did it for, and you did it for Trump because he legitimately told y'all to do it. But guess what else happened today? Here we go.
Fulton County, Georgia, the largest county in the state, has removed 2 poll workers from their jobs just before the polls opened today after staff found Facebook posts from the mother and son showing them participating in the January 6th events at the United States Capitol. I would love to show you the full article from the Washington Post, but I can't because I don't have a subscription to the Washington Post, which costs $150 a year. And I just want to say that I think a lot of election misinformation could be eliminated if during the election, every newspaper in the country, Washington Post, New York Times, made every article related to election issues free and open access for all.
That's just saying.
I'm not shocked because all year long, and I keep telling you all this, the GOP has been encouraging the same insurrectionists that they encouraged to be a part of the insurrection, you know, Trump's self-coup, to volunteer. And then the closer we got to the election, they went from go out and volunteer to go out and watch and record the polling. But now we know DeSantis and Trump, the girls are fighting. But the Trump camp, they're stressed right now, extremely stressed. And here's why. Coming from the Business Insider, Trump aides scrambled to stop him from announcing his presidential candidacy on the eve of midterms and upending the election, report says. Here's just the keynotes. Trump wanted to announce a 2024 bid Monday right before midterm voting, the Washington Post said. Aides successfully persuaded him not to, fearing it would upend the election, the report said. Trump is now expected to announce a 2024 bid on November 15th. Now, November 15th is key because he goes before the January 6th committee on November 14th. Now, I'm sure in Trump's mind that running for president will give him cover from litigation and prosecution. It will not. And there's one huge caveat. The RNC has been footing the bill for his legal fees, and they've already stated that they will no longer cover his legal fees starting the moment that he announces a 2024 bid. So they're over his stuff. And should he decide to chuck all caution to the wind and have to, and I don't know where he's going to come up with all the money he's already spent from all the rallies that he's done, because that would officially make those campaign rallies not to be used for personal reasons. But he's been hinting that should he run, his new running mate would be Marjorie Taylor Greene. This fascist has had something else to say. Pay attention.
Marjorie Taylor Greene told a crowd in Iowa that, quote, not another penny will go to Ukraine if the Republicans win the midterms. Then, Liz Cheney called out Marjorie Taylor Greene and said, quote, this is what Putin wants. If we'd had Republicans like this, like Marjorie Taylor Greene, back in the 1980s, the United States of America would have lost the Cold War.
Quick updates from tonight. For the past 2 years, both chambers, the House of Representatives and the Senate, have been controlled by Democrats. The Republicans are predicted to take the House, while the battle for the Senate is at a knife edge and too close to call. Candidates like Pennsylvania's John Fetterman and Mehmet Oz Dr. Oz only has 19% of the vote right now, but I told you all last night that he is campaigning in an area that has become fervently anti-Republican and expressly anti-Trump and anyone back from Trump, so this isn't really surprising. Have been spotted casting their ballots today. Former President Donald Trump, who voted in Palm Beach, told reporters, "I think we're going to have a great night." And Trump is rumored to be speaking from Mar-a-Lago, the golf resort, later on tonight, probably after they officially stop counting for the night. And he's probably going to just proclaim victories for every Trumplican that he endorsed. Election officials in Arizona's Maricopa County say that they believe they found a solution to technical issues with local voting tabulators. It was a small glitch earlier, but technology does glitch at times.
Taking a look at the House here, we're looking at the 7th district of Michigan right now.
But I will tell you, there was a bit of history made in Texas. Not the history that we were all hoping for, but there is some history. For those of you all that believe that Chris is going to take over DeSantis, probably not, because Chris has a long history of jumping ship. He's been a part of pretty much every political party, well, major political party that we have today. He's been an independent, a Democrat, a Republican. He just bounces around to see where he can get elected. But let's take a look at this.
Oh, do you guys want some tea? It's voting tea too. For the first time ever, there is a county in Texas that just turned blue. But let me tell you why. Okay, so here's the tea. I'm sitting in my tea chair. So this guy, Casson, decided to run as a Republican, and he won his seat. But apparently in private messages, he didn't want Trump. He was anti-Trump. And when they found out about it, he was the one who voted, of 2 people, voted against the House Speaker in Texas. So do you know what they did? They changed the boundaries of his district from a sure thing Republican seat to a majority Democratic seat. Not only that, the Republicans endorsed his challenger, and he lost. So for the first time ever, there will be a Democrat in that seat. I'm telling you, Republicans eat their fucking own. It's gonna get so messy. Oh, and Ron DeSantis is gonna lose. Yeah, he's gonna lose. Oh, and Ron DeSantis is gonna lose.
And just before we go any further, just got a notification from the protest, aka rally, that was held at the University of Kentucky. The victim in that attack, Miss Kyla Spring, was quoted as saying, "You will not break my spirit." And if you can, find her on social media. Make sure you give her some support. Stand behind her. If you are in the vicinity of the University of Kentucky, make sure you let them know how you feel. Call them, send them emails, send them snail mail. Make sure that this young lady gets justice. But traditionally Republican seat in Texas has turned Democratic because once again, the GOP is eating their own. I told you all yesterday that they have divided themselves into the Trumplicans, the Rhinos, and the conservative Republicans.
How?
How what?
I'm still trying to fathom how they planned a quote unquote coup to get him out there. I'm just flat.
I don't see why. They don't think past their own emotions.
I just think that they planned it.
That's what they do.
But seriously, with what's going on now, with them, seeing being stupid and trying to call races before the vote. What's your best, other than what's been spoken about, what's the best?
What's the what?
Yeah, see, the thing is, it's rumbling around. We're both unmuted. What's your best action for us to think about to go on this election shenanigans?
I was going to say, how can I say this without being condescending to everyone, but there's no way to do it. So here we go. Y'all need to learn how the government works. Y'all need to have a refresher on how elections work. Stop listening to politicians on any side because you already know they're going to lie to you. They're going to keep you up in a fervor. So if they lose, it's not their fault. even though no side has really given anybody a platform. For real, for real. The Democrats dropped the ball. The progressive dropped the ball. The independents dropped the ball because they could have come out and said, hey, this is the platform. Nobody said this is the platform. All they kept talking about is the tyrannical right. We already know they're tyrannical. The right is like, oh no, it's stolen. Oh, we won. Oh, red wave. But they're able to do that because most of y'all have no idea the job descriptions of what you're voting people into or what they're appointed into, how elections work, how the government work. Most of y'all have no idea that there's multiple branches of government and what they do or what they're called. Because I'm pretty sure the vast majority of you don't know that on the state level, the Secretary of State is who is in control of your state elections. Just like y'all were so goofy that you thought that a war and what the military was doing had anything to do with then Secretary of State at the federal government, Hillary Rodham Clinton. So the only thing I can tell you to do is during this time until about mid-December is educate yourself on stuff that you should have learned between primary school and graduating high school. And no, going on Facebook and reading a bunch of memes ain't gonna do it. Reading a bunch of tweets on Twitter ain't gonna do it. Watching a bunch of videos on TikTok ain't gonna do it. Reading a bunch of subreddits ain't gonna do it. Crack open a damn book. Libraries are still open. Some of y'all need to take it old school and go get an Encyclopedia Britannica. Because the amount of people on Twitter right now still arguing about it was stolen. No, shit, you should have been stolen from your mama and your daddy because evidently they failed you. The only thing they did was keep your dumb ass alive because they put zero education into you. And I am so tired of y'all walking around so fucking confidently and so damn wrong. But you worried about critical race theory and you can't even figure out basic election rules.
I'm sorry. The Encyclopedia Britannica took me out.
We need the door-to-door salesmen coming back, selling y'all box sets. Like, for real, for real. Where y'all at? Where you at? Get you a bookshelf, get that box set back, okay? Get you some markers, get you some highlighters, get you some tabs, get you some Post-its, finally get you some education. Because evidently, when it got easier for you to get information, you got dumber. How the hell were we smarter when you had to literally travel, learn the Dewey Decimal System, get all sorts of paper cuts to find books in an order that didn't make any fucking sense? But now that you can point, click, hey Siri, help me out, Alexa, help me out. Y'all don't know shit. You barely know how to write your names now. And that's why y'all so quick to tell somebody, you should run for office, you should run for office. Shut the fuck up. Just because somebody can put together a complete sentence and you still trying to figure out if green eggs and ham are real does not mean everybody that has mastered marketplace English should be in office. Goddamn.
Not green eggs and ham.
I was going to say a pop-up book, but I figured they'd cancel me after that rant anyway.
Good Lord. But I'm just saying this. If we have to honestly just turn off the TV, I suggest you do that.
No, don't turn off the TV. Watch the process. Learn the process for once. That is how people got the last time. They watched it up to a certain point, went to sleep, didn't watch the process, didn't listen to an analyst, woke up and believed whatever was being told to them at that point. Believe whatever they heard at the office. Believe whatever they heard on the bus, on the train, in the Lyft or the Uber during their commute. Don't turn it off. Watch it. And as you watch it, just like as somebody will sit there and be like, Does anybody know how to fix a sink? Or, you know what? I love when I moved from Texas to Oklahoma and then y'all got to Google everything about I found on your Facebook you was in such and such in 1996 and in 2005. Cut it. Y'all will Google the hell out of and research somebody that you don't like, thinking that that is confirmation, and get pissed off because they don't put their whole life online because you ain't got no friends and that's the only damn thing that you can do. So while you watch, look up the stuff. And don't just look it up. Look up the definitions also, because them be kicking y'all asses.
I'm not saying completely abandon. I'm just saying, don't.
No, if you have an understanding of the election, then fine. Go to sleep and wake up. If you don't, watch it. Watch it like I'm about to give you an exam tomorrow. Because avoiding shit ain't helping no damn body. That's like telling an abused kid, well, just go to sleep. They won't hit you in the sleep. Yes, the fuck they will. You gonna wake up to a blackout tomorrow. They gonna wake up dumber tomorrow. Because as these mail-in votes are now being counted and they wake up to different numbers, see, Trump was right. Trump was right. No, you're just dumb. And you refuse to educate yourself. Get out your Google. Get out your Alexa, get out your Siri, ask them bitches too. Hell, take it back and ask Jeeves, motherfucker. Shit, I don't give a damn. Just ask somebody. Get some help. Not me, though. Not me. Y'all done stressed me out enough today.
Ask Jeeves. Really?
They don't seem like Google be kicking their ass. Shit.
Ask Jeeves.
But just like last night, yet another GOP lie has been exposed. Let's roll it.
So if you guys don't know who Dan Crenshaw is, he is a Republican that was a super Trumper until, they tried to overthrow the election. But he just said the quiet part out loud. Behind closed doors, he was admitting that it was a lie. The election denying was a lie, and it was just to make people feel better about losing until the shit hit the fan. And I quote, it was always a lie. The whole thing was always a lie. And it was a lie meant to rile the people up. That's a Texas Republican. But I want you to listen to it in his own words.
It's more of a threat of people just willing to say anything to get attention. Because look, the good news is none of these people will ever have any power to overturn elections, right? It was always a lie. It was always a lie. The whole thing was always a lie. And it was a lie meant to rile people up. And, I've talked about this ad nauseum. It really made me angry. Because I'm like, the promises you're making that you're gonna challenge the Electoral College and overturn the election, there's not even a process for you to do that. It doesn't even exist.
Exactly.
I was like, what the hell are we doing? And I would tell that to people kind of behind closed doors too, especially a lot of the rabble rousers,
behind closed doors.
Politicals, personalities, not even the politicians. We definitely had the arguments behind closed doors in the Republican Party before that. But even just the others, they're like, yeah, we know that. But we just, people just need their last hurrah. Like they just need to feel like we fought one last time. Trust me, it'll be fine. And I was like, no, it won't. That's not what people believe. And that's not what you're telling them. Maybe you're smart enough to know that. But so we have a lot of people, political world, that are just willing to say things they know aren't true.
What he fails to say is that those political people in the political realm are fucking Republicans. They lied about vaccines. They lied about the election. They lied about them wanting to overturn Social Security and Medicare. They absolutely are. They will take away gay marriage. They will take away nationally a woman's right to choose. They will take away your health care. Marjorie Taylor Greene said last night she is ready to shut the government down if they're not able to cut Medicare and Social Security. Are you ready for that, Republicans?
Now, if y'all remember, I told y'all last week about old Crenshaw. And there are a bunch of y'all, the same crew, that watch this back after it's live. Because y'all never asked me live. They want to jump in the DMs again. He didn't say that. You heard it with his own voice. They're saying it behind closed doors that they absolutely positively know it's a lie. And the rest of us that critically think and didn't fall asleep in every class and also didn't go to a school that, we'll just say, was sponsored by either the daughters or the sons of the Confederacy. Because the sons of the Confederacy seem to run the North as the daughters run the South. But that's a conversation for another day. And learned how, all of this works. But also, I want you all to keep in mind, for those of you all that are falling for the trap of Social Security going, that's socialism, I don't believe in socialism, then close public schools. Go ahead and pay that parochial school fee or that private school fee. When your roads are messed up, you go on out there and you fix them. You want to privatize EMTs, the fire department, the police department that you love so much. You want to privatize all of the hospitals. So before an EMT can come and treat you, before an EMT comes to treat you, better, so they can swipe. And you better hope that you're conscious or somebody else is conscious so they can swipe or tap. Because that's what's going to happen. And keep in mind, Social Security is what you paid into it. So those of you all that are out there like, well, people should have prepared better for their retirement. First of all, that's extremely classist because everybody cannot. The vast majority of this country is surviving check to check and sometimes not even check to check. They're surviving check to loan to check to loan to check to loan. Whether that loan comes from family, a check cashing place, an app, whatever. Let's be real. Let's call the spades the spades. But Social Security comes out of your check. That's why everybody don't get the same amount at the end of the day. That's why there are some people who will never get Social Security. I've told this story till I'm blue in the face, and I'm going to tell it again because I'm going to tell it till I'm purple in the face, okay? I told y'all I met a woman who continuously tried to apply for Social Security and kept getting denied. The only way she could get it was to divorce her husband because they would pay her through a divorce decree a portion of his Social Security. And you want to know why she will never qualify for Social Security? Girlfriend ain't never had a job. She ain't never even had a paper route. But she wanted them Central Kentucky hillbilly heathens in a completely red area that's always trying to defraud the system. Husband is an engineer for the Commonwealth of Kentucky. Yes, you heard me. He's a civil engineer for the Commonwealth of Kentucky. And she done tried to apply for food stamps, Medicare, Social Security. So you telling me, if you put money in the bank every month for your retirement and somebody goes, that's socialism, we gonna take that. You gonna be okay with it? Because that's essentially what Social Security is. Because they figured if they take it straight out of your check before you put it in your hand, because human psychology, you will have a little something to live off of when you're older. Now, can you sustain yourself off of it? No. But you got a little something to add on to whatever. Because think about it. Think about how hard it is for you to save right now once you get your check. You think about everything you got to pay, that you got to eat, that you got to get here, there, and the other. But you don't think about that $23.95 that just went to Social Security this week. They're sitting there waiting for you. So go ahead and tell people that have spent their whole life putting into this that you want to take it away. Oh, and for those of y'all that are still waiting for your parents to die, do you have the extra money to subsidize what they were getting? Well, that they've been getting from Social Security? Do you? Oh, and let's not forget, Social Security also has disability benefits and death benefits. So when your spouse dies and you need that little extra cushion, because it's just a little extra cushion that Social Security would be sending you, you ready to give that up? Or if you're still raising minor children, you want to give that up on their behalf? Should something happen to you or their other parent? Because see, everybody ain't Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk and Bill Gates, nor Oprah Winfrey, nor LeBron James. See, y'all counting their pockets, acting like you living with their pockets. Be real. Be real. Like I saw a young lady earlier say, we on the same FYP. Humble yourself and close that wallet and close your mouth. You sitting here voting and making decisions based on the pockets of the top 1% instead of your pockets that generally got dust in it. Because too many GoFundMes are popping up. Too many Cash Apps and Venmos are in bios. And before you go, Taz, I saw your Cash App in your bio. Yes, you did. I ain't never said I'm independently wealthy. Hell, I'm one bad hospital stay. One bad hospital stay from having to call in to the government like, can I get them racks that I gave y'all?
I just say this. They're going to have a holy fight on their hands if they even think about it. I'm not saying that they are. Don't take me as that's what I'm saying. I know they're kind of holding that thread over their head that they quote unquote too happy to do whatever.
Oh no, they have drafts of the bill already written. They're dead ass serious about it. That's what they're trying to convince people that it's an entitlement.
Okay. You tell that to all the people who live in Florida, Boca especially. Tell that to all the grandmas who have to go back out and work because that Social Security doesn't cover everything. Tell that to the people who have to get an additional Part C to their Medicaid because their Medicaid doesn't cover everything.
Oh no! If this bill, if they actually get a bill on the floor and they win the House and they can get this through, there would be no more Part C because there won't be a Part A or B because there won't be a Medicaid. Now I don't know who's gonna be able to bury all these bodies. I don't know who's gonna be able to pay all these because here's the actual trickle down effect. Because if you take away all of these benefits for people, the elderly are the most susceptible. I'm excluding the elderly and the disabled and the immunocompromised. Mm-hmm. What did we learn in COVID? You flood the hospitals. Now what? And think about all the money that they racked up from Medicaid. Now you can't. Now you have more people who are bringing you Medicaid and Medicare that cannot pay. So how are you going to pay the staff? How are you going to pay the light bill? How are you going to pay the electric bill? How are you paying your doctors, your nurses, your unit clerks, your janitorial staff, your CNAs? See, there are a lot of positions that roll up in there. So that hospital gets shut down, like the hospital that recently, well, it wasn't the same reasoning, but the hospital that got shut down in Atlanta recently.
Yep.
The hotels, because especially if it's a trauma center, family members come in, they're going down. The restaurants, the gas stations, the convenience stores, all of those are now going down.
Yep.
You also have fewer people that are now going to be able to pay the proper amount of taxes because instead of working a full-time job and a lot of times a part-time job or 3 part-time jobs, now they got to take care of mama, papa, mom, and dad. So now they're trying to make it work with 1 part-time job. That's less taxes that are being paid. Your roads start going down. Cars start going down, but people can't pay the mechanics. People are no longer buying new cars. And then you have more people needing to apply for food stamps, which means that you're going to have to cut down the amount of food stamps for everybody else already on the program or start denying people. And then since you have people who aren't really sustaining themselves, where are you getting your donations from for these food banks? And then when people don't have extra income, they're not going to the movies. They're not going out to eat. They're not going shopping for anything that is not essential. So people are going to go back to just making their clothes from scraps of clothes that they already have. So what are you going to do with your Targets, your Walmarts, your Myers, your everything else, your TJ Maxx, your Rosses, your Burlingtons? Ain't nobody just sitting here going, oh, I'm going to grab this off Amazon. I'm going to grab this off of Walmart.com. No. What are you going to do with those employees?
I say this. You and that, I want my money. I done paid to that. You don't deserve it. No. I want my money. Like Clay Huxtable, I want all of it. Empty their pockets.
And also keep in mind the amount of specifically GOP current politicians that got PPP loans that did not, none of them needed PPP loans. Because technically, why are you still running a business if you're a politician? There is a whole royal from Europe that just abdicated her position as a royal because she's engaged and does not want her husband to let go of his business ties. And she's like, you know what? I'm a better businesswoman than I am a royal. She abdicated royalty. But we can't get politicians to do the right thing here.
Do they have to pay taxes?
Who?
The politicians.
Yes. Why do you think the tax cuts are the way that they are?
Just asking. Wanted to make sure. I was on the live that said otherwise, so I had to ask you. You know, sorry, my bad. Bad me.
It's bad enough that billionaires barely pay taxes. If all of the politicians within this country did not pay taxes, this ghetto-ass cesspool will be way worse than it already is.
She said ghetto-ass cesspool. God.
And as always, check the links in the description of this video. We got 2 more videos. Let's run this one. Be back.
I want to give you guys a heads up. The Republican meeting machine is already working overtime. One of the big ones that have started to push out their misinformation. This guy, his name is Tyler Bauer. They're already pulling a Project Veritas and they're editing clips and they're making things look like the vote cannot be trusted. He works for Russia. He's a Russian propagandist. If you see his name or anything with his affiliation on it, just know that it's bullshit. It's a lie. They're saying the lines are too long or don't trust the voting machines. You know, the typical shit. Republicans will probably pull what they did in the presidential election in 2020, which was when Donald Trump said stop counting the vote. That should have been our first sign that he was already working on trying to steal the election. So look for that bullshit and know that that's what it is.
The Russian connection is not going to end at the only way the Russian connection is going to end in this cycle of things is if Merrick Garland keeps to his word, and after everything is tallied from tonight, indictments start coming down. Now, just like they do with drug cases, all the underlings that they could find, they done indicted, prosecuted. Let's go. They got them on the roster. Now it's time to start going for the big ones. Start getting these politicians. Other than that, this is going to get worse. This is going to get worse because once you embolden someone and someone believes that they can get away with something, they're going to keep upping the ante. Because every great criminal in history that has become infamous, it's because they kept getting away with it. People kept covering for them and they kept upping the ante until it just got so egregious and so bad that they're like, okay, this is a terror. We got to take them down.
I was going to say, where's Salt when you need her? I'm just saying. If you didn't see the movie.
Well, they whitewashed her, so she's probably doing some type of extreme dumb bullshit right about now. So.
Oh no! Are you serious?
And yes, okay, New York gubernatorial race still too early to call. All right, a lot of these gubernatorial races, they're still saying are too early to call, which I understand. Okay, 23% reporting in Indiana. Yeah. We're going to close this out. Once again, y'all know I always talk about creepers and groomers all across all industries, and I kind of alluded to it earlier when we were talking about the whole Danny Masterson case, but have you ever wondered why the show, which was quite pivotal to Catch a Predator, just abruptly was canceled and went off the air? Here you go.
The fact that To Catch a Predator was canceled will always amaze me, but why it was canceled is crazy. So the people who don't know that show, it's basically a show catching predators. They had their staff stage themselves as young kids on social websites and engage themselves with these grown men and women, but mainly men, who fell for the trap, fell for it. And they would come to the house and meet the, so-called girl. And then all of a sudden, when they're trying to get what they want, Chris Hansen pops up and is like, hey, what are you doing? And that's when everyone gets flustered, and that's when people get embarrassed. And right after they think they're going to, be let go and they walk out the house, the cops arrest them. It was a grand old time when this show was on. Amazing. But the reason why it was canceled, like I said, was crazy. So one of the suspects who went by the name William Conrad was caught up on the show. And obviously that was a lot for him. So he unalives himself. What made it worse is that my guy William was an assistant district attorney for the state of Texas. So not only was he a predator, this man was working for the law, working for the government.
Okay, hold on. Let me refind it. I got up to let Urbane back out and he stepped on the mouse. So sorry about that, you guys. It'll just take a minute to reload that. Sorry. It is the lovely life of having soap operas.
Yeah, well, a dog, it's gonna be a dog.
So, hold on, it's processing now.
How's the race going?
Herschel Walker has gained some ground on Warnock, but Warnock is still in the lead.
Okay.
JD Vance is still losing in Ohio, which is a good thing because he's a liar. All right, here we go. Sorry, you guys.
The fact that To Catch a Predator was canceled will always amaze me, but why it was canceled is crazy. So the people who don't know that show, it's basically a show catching predators. They had their staff stage themselves as young kids on social websites and engage themselves with these grown men and women, but mainly men, who fell for the trap, fell for it. And they would come to the house and meet the, so-called girl. And then all of a sudden, when they're trying to get what they want, Chris Hansen pops up and is like, hey, what are you doing? And that's when everyone gets flustered, and that's when people get embarrassed. And right after they think they're going to, be let go and they walk out the house, the cops arrest them. It was a grand old time when this show was on. Amazing. But the reason why it was canceled, like I said, was crazy. So one of the suspects who went by the name William Conrad was caught up on the show. And obviously that was a lot for him. So he unalives himself. What made it worse is that my guy William was an assistant district attorney for the state of Texas. So not only was he a predator, this man was working for the law, working for the government. So obviously that was way too much. And he did not want anyone to give him any smoke, so he just himself. And a lot of people felt like, oh, well, it's the show's fault. They humiliated him, so let's cancel it. But I have another theory. I feel like the government was behind them canceling the show because they don't want to talk about how many politicians, how many judges, how many lawyers, how many people that work for the U.S. government that are a little sick in the head. They didn't want any more of that to come to light because William, I promise you, William was not the only one. Mind you, they even had cops pop up in that show. And the government, it wasn't a good look for the government. So I firmly believe that the government was behind the canceling of the show because they can't afford another one of their soldiers to get caught up. They can't afford one of their buds to go down. Regardless, I felt like the canceling of the show was definitely not needed because, yes, William did unalive himself, but that was on his own terms. He knew what he did. He was a sick man, and he tried to take the easy way out because he didn't want to live a life of shame. So it's easier to, just remove yourself. Don't get me wrong, unaliving yourself is very sad, and if you have issues with it, please speak to somebody. But in a situation with William, that's very different. He escaped his reality because he knows the type of person he is. And quite honestly, he did a lot of people a favor.
Now I will say this. This is what always amazed me about the show. Because you were hard pressed to find someone who didn't watch the show or who didn't know about it. At least know about the premise. So you still knew about the premise of the show. And people were still falling for the trap. Like, once again, when I tell you, people have been allowed to do things for so long and allowed to skate through with not even a slap on the wrist that they keep upping the ante. Because I remember watching a few episodes, and yes, there were teachers, there were principals, there were police officers, there were local politicians. And I'm like, bruh. And the commercials for the show, you couldn't like
whole prostitution rings.
But it is what it is. Final thoughts on the night?
Pay attention to what's going on, but do not sit there and stress. Things will work themselves out how they're supposed to be.
Take this time to educate yourself. So at least by the time the presidential election comes around, we can stop all the conspiracy theories and all of this "I'm not gonna vote" crap. Because all they've done is set up and gear everything towards 2024. Should Ron DeSantis win, he's not going to finish out his gubernatorial term. He wants to be the president. He wants to be worshipped by Trump's sycophants. But as always, thank you for watching. Thank you for joining us. Don't forget to join me tomorrow with Chris for Get Into It with Taz and Chris. And as always, each one teach one, each one reach one.
I really honestly